Good evening, hello, and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. Saturday night, we are, about 10 hours aftershock of the result this morning where the Springboks were absolutely blown away by the Australians. If you're going to be brutally honest, and we've now had some time to process, some time to look back, some time to reflect, some time to, I'm hoping, calm down a little bit to a certain degree in terms of some people. I don't think the press conference material that's coming out is probably really going to help. We'll talk a little bit about what the players said. We'll talk a little bit about the match. We'll talk a little bit about what needs to happen. But I think that the important thing at the moment is just to put everything in perspective all the time and not. You can have knee-jerk reactions just after the game, but now it's not after the game. Now we're 10 sort of hours later. Now when you start actually looking back and thinking a little bit more about what actually happened this morning and what needs to happen, because we know it's not good enough. It's quite easy. We know that this performance was not good enough. And I think this performance so much more worrying than last weekend, where you think that we pretty much executed a game plan, not well, but well enough, really. And we just left points out there. We didn't manage to get over the line. Today, we couldn't execute anything. We couldn't organize a piss-up in a brewery. We were that poor today. And as Jacques Dinaba says, probably the worst performance since 2018 when we lost in Argentina. And we have to take it on the chin. We do have to take it on the chin. I think that we really did. We were enjoying the run that we had, and we had every single right to enjoy the run we had. We had every single right to celebrate the British and Irish Lions win. And we had every right to celebrate the two Argentina wins. But now we have to take it on the chin. Now we have to sit there and go, fair. You know what? We got completely outplayed. And it does happen in the sport. It does happen. It's not, and I think the frustrating thing is that we went from about a month or two ago talking about how this is one of the best Bok teams we've ever seen to now saying that the players aren't good enough, the coaches aren't good enough, and we sort of just losing our minds a little bit. And I think that the important thing is that usually when it comes to reactions, there'll be extremes that'll say sack the coaching staff. There'll be people that are overly optimistic, and where we probably should be is probably somewhere in the middle. I think we need to make sure the coaches are accountable. We need to make sure the players are accountable. Is the game plan accountable for what today? Or what we are doing good enough? Where's the blame? Where are the issues? And then you also need to sit there and say, how much is it an isolated issue? How much is it a issue that's been building? Or how much is it maybe a structural issue, which is something a little bit more to worry about? And I think that, once again, it probably finds ourselves somewhere in the middle. But I'm going to start in by saying, to be brutally honest, and you can go check the videos when we first announced, I said from the beginning, I didn't think that this tour was going to go very well. And I think that it was always going to be a huge ask for a squad which has had a lot of difficulties this year. And I think it took so much to do that, to get that British and Irish Lions series victory done, that I think that was kind of sort of the be-all and end-all of the year, to be honest. And after that, we now suddenly moved to the Rugby Championship. Everybody talking about, can they defend the title? Can we do, the incredible and put this team down as one of the best teams ever? And we started looking at, well, to do that, you have to beat All Blacks twice. You have to do that and beat All Blacks twice. We were supposed to be both in New Zealand, now both in Australia. And we probably didn't show enough. And to be fair, I think it's actually more the fans than the actual team itself that did not show Australia enough respect in terms of getting past these two games. We have never, ever played well in Australia. We have a horrible, horrible record in Australia. We have a horrible record at the Suncorp Stadium. So, it was going to be such a big ask anyway, that I think that on the face of it, whilst the performance itself was unacceptable and we need to look at it, is it that surprising that we've maybe gone in and struggled? Given that we've had our difficulties, we've had sort of our thing. I don't think this was, as surprising as Japan beating us. At the end of the day, we have lost our number one ranking after today, and we will slide to number 2. Australia after today actually slide to number 3. So we got beaten by the third best side in the world. So for all that everybody going after Australia as a really bad team, I think we downplayed how good they really are. I think we underestimated them big time. I'm saying more we as the fans. I honestly think that the coaches, in terms of their selections, they back their best team. So I think that they showed Australia the respect. But I think that we didn't expect Australia to be this good, and we are now having to sort of eat a bit of humble pie because we were so focused on whether we can beat the All Blacks. We didn't think about the 2 games before then. So we've got quite a lot to dissect, quite a lot to try and sort of talk through and discuss. So let me jump in the comments and sort of see who's out here, and then we'll sort of talk a little bit about some of the things we need to get through over the next sort of hour. So going to when we go live, Mateo says, do you think the Springboks have tested their depth enough? We're going to talk about that. I don't think they have, and I'd like to. And I said this week I would like to see a bit of rotation this weekend. And to be honest, what would have happened? Would it have been worse? I don't think so. To be honest, even if we had lost, you could have then said, but at least I think there were no silver linings today. If we're being very honest, looks like Jacques Nienaber can't do it alone without Rusty. We're going to talk about Jacques Nienaber, and I think he's getting a lot of unfair criticism. I think that. Once again, in terms of talking about whether he's good enough, whether he's not, the answer probably lies somewhere in the middle. But I do think that it's very knee-jerk reaction. And we're going to talk about the idea, our coach is good enough. Should we be sacking him? What, is it even a conversation we should be having? So we're going to talk about that as well. The Aussies outplayed our defense. The ultimate sharpshooter says it's tough out there. I mean, 11% win rate there for reasons. 14%, he corrects himself. Contender says Pollard has smelling attitude. He needs to chow some humble pie, otherwise he'll get entitled. Jean Dialog says we need to develop our run and smash game plan. We don't have a plan B, C, or D on attack. This is a much-needed wake-up call. And I've just scrolled to the bottom and lost the comments because we've got a lot of them coming in. Of course, he says, after All Blacks match, we'll let you know if they continue with the same selection. Nienaber and Co must be sacked by Rusty and bring back Jake White. The Jake White era is gone. And let's be honest, nobody wanted Jake White before this last sort of year with the Bulls. So let's not. I don't think we need to go back that sort of direction. ABS says the thing with this game plan, we can't play catch up once a team gets ahead. Well, we did to a certain degree, and then we allowed them to get ahead. We did literally catch up and go ahead. So not entirely true. But it is a game plan that does suit going ahead early. I do agree with that. Hayden says, it makes me think, how good was the British and Irish Lions squad really? If they were better, then they would probably absolutely destroy us. No, actually, I don't do that. I don't think we need to do that. The British and Irish squad was a good side. Let's not try and downplay our squad just because we've been beaten by Australia. Australia are also a good side. This Australian side beat New Zealand last year, by the way. People have all forgotten that. Yes, they didn't play particularly well against France. Yes, they got beaten 3 times in a row against New Zealand. They did beat New Zealand last year. This same side. And in fact, they've actually brought more players back after the whole sort of the Gitwa law has been back. So a year ago, they were doing this without the Quade Coopers, without those sort of players. So it has made a big of a difference. Let's not downplay what we've done in the past to try and justify what happened this morning. I think that's a very dangerous road. Kevin says it's not the end of the road, to be fair. Australia were playing good rugby, take on the chin and move forward, focusing on New Zealand. I agree. Marcus says no one said sack them. They're a good support coach, but have nothing to offer. Do you think that Bolniabal can motivate Eben? Maybe it's been too many games from an 18-month break, not rotating enough, intensity not there. Says get game in Clinton. Nienaber can't be head coach. He can't do the job without Rusty at all. Nienaber having experience as a head coach before. We're going to talk about his experience, and I think that people are being quite disrespectful to somebody who's been embedded in rugby for 20 years and rugby coaching setups for 20 years. We need to bring back Swayster Brain and Rusty Erasmus. Why did our best scrum coach, Matthew Proudfoot, leave the Springboks? Because he went to England for more money. And if we're going to be fair to Don Human, were the scrums an issue today? No, they weren't. I really think Daniel Villiers should start getting more game time. You can't keep having in the last 5 to 10 minutes all the time on very big games. The ultimate sharpshooter says, my frustration is really with Jacques Nienaber backing the same players and making the same errors. I'm not as worried as I was with Alistair Coetzee. This is always going to be a tough tour. 2 out of 4 was lucky. Do you seriously think that we've spoken about that? Man, my biggest fear is being spanked by the All Blacks. I think it's all of our fears. We're all worried about what will happen. The championship isn't lost. Surely we can't even dream of beating the All Blacks twice. We couldn't do that in 2018. I think the championship was pretty much lost as soon as they announced the fixtures, and we had to come and play those 4 games away. Even if we are beat the All Blacks for 2 points, we will never get the trophy. I will only truly get worried after 2 All Blacks losses and we see a similar game plan in the end of the year tour. It was probably always unrealistic to think the same game plan will work until the next World Cup. Well, to be fair, and we'll talk about the game plan because it did change today, and whether maybe it shouldn't have changed. Maybe all the talk that we want to see a more attacking thing, they tried it today and it didn't work. So maybe we now have to sit there and go, maybe we messed it up. Maybe we fell into the trap. Becoming too predictable. The 6-2 split bomb squad thing is so obvious now. Kevin says, be nice to test part inside centre, bring Alton at fly half. The box needs Goosen. It's good for World Rugby that Oz is performing again. I agree. The UK media loving the fact that the Box have lost twice. Well, you know what? I love the fact more than that. The fact that the Lions lost twice and that they have to wait another 12 years before they want to do it again. I think the likes of Fassi and Alton should be included, maybe even on bench. KPMG says the coach team is definitely good enough to create a new winning game plan, but only time will tell. Jan says, do you think the Box will win the 100th test against the All Blacks this year? They lost energy in the second half. We did fade out. We did fade. Was just unlucky. Coaching staff are amazing, though. Won a World Cup and Lions. They did. That's just a fact. Jan says, take what? Come on, guys. Dweejo says, we must not go over the 6-2 split if we are playing against attacking teams like Wallabies and All Blacks. Was Alton injured? No, he's available. He's there. I would like to see Nkosi next week with Colby and Fassi next week. I think we need to rotate this week, even if it's considered risky. Says Mateo, is LaRue undroppable? He would be immense, brings a bit of a different style. What about Francois Fenton, Andre Estesen on centres? No, Jake White shouldn't be our coach if sacking about Johan Ackerman must. I honestly think the Lions tour took a lot out from the boys. Guido says we will bench Fassi because he comes with more energy than Willemse. They can fix this, says Dean Bright. Just better discipline, better team selection, move away from a 6-2 split, better attitude on defense. Peter State, Toys, Neyman, and Colby will be big boosts. Well, we're only going to get Colby for next week at this stage, but I agree. We are missing some pretty important players. Rowan Janssen from Rensburg and France Day and centers were cooked to watch. Did you forget the Australian team nearly lost against a France B team? Yeah, but as I said, we also forget that this Australian team beat the New Zealand team. So let's not downplay this. Is a good Australian side. We can't pretend it's not, because it is. Hercules says, I mean, we lost 2 games. Yes, it was sad to see lose, but I'm quite happy with where SA Rugby is at the moment. We would have dreamed to be where we are 3 years ago. Big up Springboks. Hope the loss lead to growth. Guido says, of course, you should try and stay on his channel and stop searching for work in the middle because you exploited a lot in his wing. I don't think that's entirely his fault, to be honest. I know what you're saying. I don't think the space in the wing there was necessarily his fault. I think it is the way we do set up defensively, and we got it wrong. Dave got it wrong in one of the tries. There was a small variation in attack with offloading before taking contact. We stole that from the Lions. The irony, stop making excuses for this coaching staff and Bok team. You know what? To be honest, I think we last before, and then I want to talk. Renock and Alton on the bench is Louis. Hunter says we have not changed our game plans to 2018. T's career, just like all of us can. We need to look at doing something different urgency. I'm not sure Jacques can do it. Keep the coaches. Scrums look like untested scrums against the British and Irish Lions. So solid. Probably Matt Bradford influence from England that had some link in the squad. What is going on with Dwayne? So I'm going to be brutally honest here. I'm going to be very, very honest. And some of you guys might not like it. I think we are overreacting. I think we really, really are overreacting. And I think that we don't actually get to lose 2 matches and decide this coaching staff is not good enough. We don't get to question the people that delivered us 3 trophies after 18 months with this side. We don't get to suddenly decide that Jacques Nienaber is not good enough after winning the British and Irish Lions series. Regardless of whether Rusty Rasmus had a big input, if you understand the setup, it's not a one-trick. Rusty is not doing absolutely everything. We can't just sit there and take the credit if he's on the side of the field and say it's all Rusty Erasmus and leave out Jacques Nienaber, leave out Mzandile Stick, leave out Don Human, leave out Dion Davids, leave out Felix Jones, and say that it's all Rusty Erasmus when we win. And then as soon as we lose, they're all hopeless. And it's only Rusty that can do the job. I think that is naive. It's naive, I think. We've got to show the respect that they deserve when they took. This is the changes of Dion Davids and Don Human, okay, in terms, and they've put him in as forwards coaches. Scrums wise, Don Human has been fine. The scrums have not. Last week we saw a little bit of a worry, but apart from that, the scrums have been very solid throughout this tournament, throughout the British and Irish Lions. Set pieces is where we have actually dominated the most, which is when Dion Davids has come in. And we look at our rolling more. We scored 3 more tries last weekend. So forwards-wise, in terms of set piece stuff like that, we're getting things right. Today, we missed. I'm going to go find exactly how many missed. Because, to be honest, and people will say that I'm defending a coach staff, but I will defend this coaching staff because this is the coaching staff that has delivered us so much. And I don't think that we get to burn our jerseys after Alistair Coetzee, put them back on when we suddenly win the World Cup, and then decide after 2 losses against Australia that they don't deserve our support anymore. It's fair weather fans, and I don't enjoy it. I really don't enjoy it. Comments, people saying that Nienaber needs to go, that Mzandile Stick is now useless again. We've got a full circle where we all said, oh, we don't know these guys. Oh, sure, but they're amazing. Oh, no, these guys are shit. It's too fair weather. It is far too fair weather. People talking about Nienaber's coaching, his win percentage. He's literally played 7 games. 7 games in charge. In fact, I think today was 8th. So it was 3 Lions tests. There was Georgia, 2 Argentina, 2 Australia. So it's 8th game. His 8th game, we want to talk about win percentage. His win percentage, if you win the next 2 games, the win percentage changes by like 20%. So we can't be looking at things like win percentage and saying, oh, no, we should be talking about sacks. So the title was about what people have been saying today. And I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't even think about sacking the coaching staff right now. They've just delivered you the British and Irish Lions series under situations which never could have possibly been factored in, and we did it. We then went to Argentina and Argentina came here and we beat them twice. I look at today, and I think last week, I put it down. Last week, I will continue to put it down to bad kicking. I think it generally was. Today, we missed 21 tackles. 21 tackles. When you miss 21 tackles, what do you... as a coaching staff, you don't send them out factoring in 21 tackles. And Jacques Nielba, who's the defense coach, said he needs to look at it. He said he took it on the chin. He says, it's my area and I need to sort it out. I don't know what happened there. Because we don't miss 21 tackles. When was the last time we missed 21 tackles? Andre Pollard missed 2 tackles, which resulted in direct tries. Him and Warren Ori in that first one. If Andre Pollard makes that tackle in the first try and they don't score, it's a whole different game. We make the tackle in the second try, they don't score, it's a whole different game. Today, we lost with a combination of individual errors, and I think that we can't suddenly jump on a game plan, and we can't suddenly jump on coach staff not being good enough as the only excuse. At the end of the day, I think if you are going to go after the coaching staff, which I do think they have to be accountable at, and I will go after them for certain things, for me, it was the selection. The selection was the issue, because I think there are too many passengers. There have been too many passengers in this team for the last 1 or 2 games who have not been brought to task and have not been sort of sat down and said, you are not pulling your weight. You are not delivering the quality and the standard we have come to expect from you. And if you don't, we will drop you. And they've done it again and they haven't been dropped. And I think we need to start wielding the axe. We need to start making changes. And that's where I think I'm going to go after the coaching staff. And I think next weekend, at the end of the day, we're not expected to be New Zealand next weekend. We're not. And everybody's talking about how we're going to get absolutely thrashed. So I would like to see changes, because I would like to know that we've got an environment that is competitive enough that when someone does not play well, when you go out and you miss 21 tackles, that there are consequences. Because last week we lost it, and the response was to say, have a chance for redemption. And that chance for redemption was a 30 points to 17 loss. So as far as I'm concerned, a lot of these players have used up their chance for redemption. I also think that these players should have been rotated from an energy and fitness wise, because we looked absolutely dead on our feet in the second half. The Australians ran us off our feet. This is a side who's been sort of so fitness driven for years. And then today we could not keep up with the game plan. You think of the lineouts being lost at the end. You look at the tries being scored and people just not taking up their positions. Laziness creeping into it, missed tackles, basic errors, and the knock-on stuff like that comes down to fatigue, comes down to concentration. So in terms of the game plan, we're talking about we don't have a B and a C, D game plan. We did change it up today. We kicked the ball. Yeah. So last week, I'm actually going to find last week. I'm going to look at the difference, because if you think we played the same tactics today that we did last week, you didn't watch the game. One of them. I don't know which one, but you didn't watch either games. And the stats will show you that we didn't play the same tactics. We kicked less. We kept ball in hand. You look at the stats last weekend, and in terms of kicking, there were. Rugby pass is so hopeless. It doesn't have any of the flipping stats I want. There we go. So this is today. Okay, so today, in terms of kicking, I'll tell you what also can show us the amount of times people touch the ball here. Hey, work. You know, why is it whenever I'm trying to find something, I'm mid-roll here. Ultimate Rugby, sort your shit out and tell me what my stats are. Okay, well, that's going to load in the meantime. But there we go. In there. All right, so today we had 28 kicks from hand to 27 of Australians, who also kicked a lot today, by the way, far more than they did last weekend. Ironically, because last weekend they were praised because they didn't kick the ball away, and that was one of the reasons they were so good. This week they did kick the ball away, and yet were even better. So 28 kicks this week compared to, and that's not loading. And really, I give up on this flipping app. Look at and also look at the type of kicks we had today. Villy had, I think, 2 chip and chases. Andre Pollard had a 50-22, where today we actually started kicking more for territory than we did just the up and unders. And we did use a couple of unders. And for all that we say that the kicking game wasn't working, aerially, the Australians really struggled today. They really did struggle under the high ball. I put a lot down to Spoon Corsi, who really did try and work very hard under that high ball. But we did try to keep the ball in hand today more. And the question is, was it a good thing? Or was it a bad thing? Should we have actually kept the ball in hand? I think it's difficult when we've complained about not playing the ball in hand, and then today we do it, or we did it poorly. I'll give it that. It's not like we did it well, but I don't think you get to suddenly go from being very forward concentrated, very tactical, very territory, very set piece, and be able to say, right, chaps, today we're going to throw the ball around, and it's going to just come off. It didn't come off. We didn't know how to straighten. We didn't know how to offload properly and get players into the game more. So that is genuinely a major issue. But if we look at the carries today, compared to last weekend. So last weekend, if we're looking at our backline players, Andre Pollard had 4 carries. Marcus Olomapimpi had 1 carry. Damian Delendi had 2 carries. Lekanyam had 4 carries. Of course, he had 1 carry. Villaroo had 3 carries. Last week, Marcus Olomapimpi didn't make 1 pass. Lekanyam didn't make 1 pass. Spoon Corsi made 1. Villy made 3. Delendi made 3. Pollard made 7. Okay, those are passes, and I think 1 offload from Pollard, 1 offload from Nkosi. So that was last weekend. Okay, today the carries were as follows. Where are we? No, this is not loading either. All I want is my stats, and it displays it so nicely, and now it's not work. I just need to give up. I think I just need to give up. Let me check out ESPN. Let's see what they've got for me. That's a quick info. But from when we were looking at during the player rating show, we were looking at in terms of carries. I think it was Damian Delendi had like 9 carries today. I think Marcus Olomapimpi had about 6. Spirit Corsi had about 5. Lekanyam had about 4 or 5. The carries today were so much more than last week. So there was a game plan change. It just didn't work, and we couldn't execute it particularly well. And you see now, we didn't carry more because they kicked more. Mate, did you watch the flipping game? We went left to right on about 3 or 4 occasions. We saw Delendi at first receiver, then pop into Pollard, go into Lekanyam, go into Marcus Olomapimpi, which we didn't do once last weekend. Damian Delendi does not get 9 carries because they're kicking more. He's not even involved in that scenario. The only time that Damian Delendi gets a carry is when he's coming in at first receiver as a crash ball. And he got that 9 times today. We used him more as a crash ball today. Far more effective, to be honest. He actually looked a lot better today with ball in hand. It wasn't his perfect game, but he did look better in hand. So the question is, did anybody else just not see that we'd actually passed the ball today? I don't know. Maybe. So was I watching a different game? You can ask the chat. Was I watching a different game? Because I did see us keeping ball in hand more today. Maybe I was blind. Maybe I didn't watch the game. You can check my commentary. Maybe I was wrong when I said Pollard to Delendi to Villy Leroux. Villy Leroux probably held on to it too quickly. Oh, to Mapimpi. I wasn't saying that last week. I wasn't. It was not the exact same game plan. We know it wasn't the same game plan. They said it in the flipping post-match conference that we did try and keep ball in hand more. So it's got nothing to do that they kick. Of course, they kick more, so Villiers might get more touches, but Damon Delende is not getting more carries because they're kicking more. It literally makes no sense. So yeah, you see, as I said, we didn't. I'm not saying they attacked well. I didn't say we shipped the ball out wide well, because we didn't. We sucked in. We were far too lateral. We didn't straighten enough, but we did it. We did do it. So if you don't think that we didn't keep the ball in hand more today, I don't know what you watched today, to be honest. Because it's literally a fact. It's not even an opinion. We did keep ball in hand. We just didn't do it very well. So the question is, where to now? And first of all, I think we also, as Springbok fans, need to stop being, first of all, I wouldn't say entitled, but just a little bit less fair weather about being so quick to say how good we are, and then equally as quick to say how bad we are. We just probably need to be a bit more measured about life. I'm not happy about today. None of us are happy about today. But we can't now just sit there and say that every single player is hopeless. I saw people saying that Siaklis needs to be dropped, which I thought was, I think it was probably one of the few decent players today. I think somebody said, obviously the centers are now useless as well after 2 games. So we went from having the best 2 centers in the world in current rugby to now they're being useless as well. Look, Villiers been struggling for a while, so I can back that shout. I think Faf de Klerk has been struggling for a while as well. I can back that shout as well. But you look at the player ratings, and I think Eben Etzebeth was really poor today. Gets a decent player rating in our show. So we need to be consistent, I think. Probably just more consistent in terms of the way we judge our players, the way we judge. And if we're gonna take all the good, we gotta take all the bad. And the reality is we need to learn how to cope without RK Snyman, who's, I think, going back to Munster with personal reasons. I don't know what's going on with RK Snyman. I really, really don't. I don't know if he's got PTSD from the fight, which genuinely he could actually have, and it would be okay if he did. But it is just a bit weird that what's going on there. Very little communication regarding that situation. He was supposed to be fit for the tour. He was supposed to be ready, and then it was personal reasons that he didn't travel. So I don't know what's going on there, to be honest. But hopefully we'll see him soon. We've got no Pisef Patoy, and I think today, for the first time, to be fair, for the first time today, the Franco Master didn't work. And again, all of a sudden, it's Franco Master can never be a 7. I don't think it worked today. It's worked before. And I think that today we saw a tired Franco Master for the first time since he pulled on a Springbok jersey, which is about right, to be honest. It's about right. He's been playing so much rugby that it doesn't surprise me that we actually started to see some fatigue from him. And I think that we should have rotated more this week. I wanted to see more rotation because I was worried about fatigue and whether that will come into play. So, let's talk about that in terms of changes. Where do we go from now? We also lost Thomas Toy. We've also lost Nicholas Janssen from Rensburg, so we've got no locks. Piers Death Toy was a converted lock to center. So Franco Master, Arches Neyman, Loert de Jager, Eben Etzebeth. Today we didn't have Loert de Jager. We didn't have Arches Neyman. We didn't have Nicholas Janssen from Rensburg. You could probably call Marvin Orie about a 5th or 6th choice lock, and he was starting today. So it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse because you have to have that depth. But I think today we missed some proper players, and I think somebody like Dwayne Vermeulen not playing at Dwayne Vermeulen's caliber is a huge miss. Not having Cheslin Colby, who is being talked as one of the best players in the world currently, about to become one of the highest paid players in the world, not having him is always going to be a big loss. So if we look at the history, playing against Australia in Australia. So we've now lost back-to-back games. If we go back, last time we played before this was 2018 in Brisbane, and we lost. Before that in Brisbane, we lost. Before that in Perth, we drew. Before that in Brisbane, we lost. Before that in Brisbane again, we lost. Before that in Perth, we lost. Before that in Brisbane again, we won. The last time we won in Australia was 2013, by the way. Just for reference. Before that, We lost in Perth before that. We lost. Yeah, Brisbane again. We lost. So I mean, yeah, we've literally won about 2 games against Australia in Australia in about the last 20 years, almost type vibes. So and people say that doesn't play a part. Of course, it plays a part. That's there for a reason. For a reason. You know, it's a flipping hard place to go and play, and it's unacceptable. But we can't not acknowledge those parts. We can't not acknowledge that part of the side of the game. You know, it's because it is a genuine factor. So the question is, moving forward, I think we're just going to move on from that because we're going for half an hour already. I don't really want to talk about the coaching staff in terms of game plan. I think that they should have rotated more. I think that's where I'd probably fault them. But I'm never going to say they're not good enough. And I think if you do, you don't get to celebrate the World Cup because they were all part of it. Maybe not Dion Davids and Don Human, but I don't think their departments were the issue today. So, and they all in the British and Irish Lions series. So if you celebrate the World Cup and you celebrate the British and Irish Lions series, you don't get to knee-jerk reaction, tell them that they shit and should be there after 2 losses. It's not fair. And you've got to be fair. You've got to be fair. So the question is now, as I said, so moving forward, who do we drop? And I think the big problem is that that's the half-back combination, which is probably a bit of an issue at the moment. And I would probably change the halfback combination. You know, at the end of the day, Faf de Klerk did not play well today. Got a yellow card. Wasn't particularly good last week. And you probably need to be punished for that. You know, because I think that yellow card, they scored 2 tries. It was a massive hole in the game. Andre Pollard, I don't think played well today either. Kicked much better, but he missed 2 tackles. I think he made 4 tackles and missed 3. Now, we're talking about somebody who's supposed to be the defensive general, you know, him and Damien Lilley are going to make all the tackles and be that defensive sort of output. And he couldn't take a tackle today. My carry stats have finally arrived. Yeah, 9 carries for Damien Lilley, 5 for Nkosi, 11 for Leroux, 7 for Mapimpi. So that does show you that we did carry the ball more, by the way. So I think that we probably need to change the halfback combination. And at the end of the day, what can it get worse? To be honest, can it get worse? If we keep the exact same 23, and we go out and we lose by 20 points next weekend, the reaction will be, you should have rotated. If we rotate and we go and lose by 20 points next weekend, the reaction will be, you shouldn't have rotated. But it becomes very difficult to tell a squad of 40 people that after back-to-back losses against Australia, lower ranked in the world, but still a quality side. I think we underestimated them. It becomes very difficult to then tell the rest of your squad that you're not good enough, that these guys are so much better than you and need to keep playing, and they're not doing the job. You know, how do you tell someone that, listen, we know that guy missed 2 massive tackles and they scored tries as a result, but we're going to back him because he's better than you? How long can you continue to justify starting players who aren't performing? And we know the quality of this side. Trevor, Bongi, France, Emin Etzebeth, Sia Khaleesi, Frank Amos, Dwayne Vermeulen, Faf de Klerk, Pollard, Mapimpi, Delendi, Nkosi, Leroux. 14 out of 15 have all got a World Cup medal at home. They've all got a World Cup winners medal at home. These are all World Cup winners. Marks, Kitsov, Koch, Kwaka Smith, Herschel Yankees, and David Villains all got World Cup winners medals at home. There's no doubting the pedigree of these players. Then a lot of them, certain one of them, are not playing very well at the moment. And some of them have had off days. Some of them have had a couple of off days. And that's all right, but you've got to then say, right, we're going to drop you, we're going to rotate you, and you need to just demonstrate once again why you deserve to be there, why you are good enough to be there. At the end of the day, Luot Diago is fit, so he comes back in. I think it's a big boost. I think we probably have to put Franco Mossa on the bench next weekend because he just looks shattered, absolutely shattered, which is weird for Franco Mossa, but I think we have played him into the ground. And I also think, does Dwayne Vermeulen start next weekend? Do we have to really start considering the fact that Dwayne Vermeulen was pretty poor today? And how can, I mean, how much? I mean, look, and he's allowed to be off. He's coming back from injuries, but you can't risk a team based on reputation of a player. And today he made 4 tackles and missed 2. This is somebody who is usually your sort of defensive general, organizer of the defense, is massive on D, and he just didn't look like he had pitched up today. He looked exhausted. So I think you have to start Jasper Wiese at 8. And the 7 then becomes a very big question. What do we go? Who do we go with the 7? Do we back Franco Mossad once again? Do we go Jean-Luc Deprieux? Do we go Ronald Elstad? Do we have to pick someone who hasn't actually played at all in the last couple of games? In terms of the rest of the back line, I think Mapimpi is struggling. And I don't think he's had a quality ball, which doesn't help, but I think he is struggling. So do you go Fassi? If Colby's fit, do you switch Nkosi to the other wing and play Colby at 14 or the other way around? Do you play Colby at 11 and Springboks at 14? Because I thought Springboks was better today than Marcus Mapimpi. And then the big one is Veli Leroux at the back. And I think the biggest problem is I know exactly who I would like to see playing full back next weekend, but he's not in Australia. And it's not Johan Goosen, before you say Johan Goosen. The way he was playing before he got injured, I think Warwick Gelant would be walking into this team right now. We've got to get him back into that side. He was playing sensational rugby last year. Even when he's played for the Springboks, he's put in some really, really good performance. The problem is as well, and somebody makes a good point, is that Jasper Wiese also a yellow card. So now what do you do? It's such a big issue. So I will come to the comments. There are a lot of them coming through, so forgive me. If you really want me to read your comment, you can put it as a super chat so I can at least see it. But there are a lot of comments coming in. It is very difficult for me to keep up. But Johan Gama, this says discipline in defense is poor from us. Container says in chair over Kitsoft, Indy kindly goes to the bench, Faf out, bring Reinach, Polly as at most off the bench, Alton at 10, Morne at 22, and Colby and Fassi to the 15 ahead of Mapimpi, Creel, or France at 23. Sam van den Berg says the rugby championship is pretty much lost at this point. Maybe time to use the opportunity to test new tactics for fringe players. Billy Speckman is in the squad. Ross Spence isn't in the squad. Ben Tian says not over till it's over. Look, it is over. Kisavin Naidu says, and that Asper get at least 10 penalties a game. I want to see Fassi in full back. We won't, and I wouldn't. You cannot say to Apele Fassi, have your third game starting fullback against New Zealand. It is suicide for the man. If you're going to change fullback, you probably go Damien Willemse there and you start him there. And he didn't have a good time last time he started at fullback. Or you go Colby at fullback, who has played there at club level. But Tully says he's named his team over there. There's think his Pollard's out of his form. Hansi says I would not replace Franco first bad game, just have a decent 7 on the bench. I just think he looks shattered. Name one block that looked like a man of a match performer. There's something they're not telling us. Hoopy says I agree. Thor should be coming off the bench, but Pimpy has been poor. We have enough talent out wide to swap him out. Dylan Lowe says Dwayne brings leadership, same backline, but Colby at 15 in the future. Willems can cover 15, get the bone collector back. No, he can't even make it at the Lions at the moment because he's so injury prone. Fassi at fullback. Someone says when New Zealand tried to play at 5 at 7, it was Barrett at 7 against England semis. They lost, and the coach said that was their biggest mistake. Now we do the same. We play Moss at 7. Yeah, you know what also actually worked really badly is we also shifted another lock to 7, and he became World Player of the Year. So look, you win some, you lose some. Not everyone that shifts from 5 to 7 make it, but not everyone but it's not a guarantee they're not going to make it. Let's be honest. Franco Mossa was perfect against the British Irish Lions, so it's difficult to now say that he was hopeless at that position after one bad game. You can't. I mean, that you've used one example as a rule, and we've got another example. We've got the example that proves that is not always the case. Drop really down to Priam must play flank for us next week. Yes, by medical head fees. Is Fassi ready for 15 in your opinion? I don't. I think if we're going to play Fassi, play him on the wing. He's got 2 tries from 2. Play him at 11 if you want to get him then back. And if you want to change the full back, put Colby there. Colby's recycling was lightning a scrum off against Argentina, not saying we should play him there, but makes us wonder if the backline was 2 seconds faster. And Corsi was great under the high ball, but I still question his defense. Fassi must replace Mapimpi. Willemse full back. Fassi is better than Willie. Why do you not back Fassi? Because he's never played an international game at full back. That's why I don't back him. And when the last time he did play full back in the Springbok jersey was against the Bulls, and he missed all the tackles he had to make. Defensively, he needs work, and that's fine because he's a youngster and he will grow into that. But put him on the wing where he can grow into a game. Don't throw him in the deep end, and and then be shocked when he can't perform. Maybe he does perform, but you got to protect some of your players like that. And I think that he hasn't had the opportunity there. He hasn't played there for the Springboks, and let's not do it against the blooming New Zealand. Mate, did you notice the Wallabies were always huddling and taking a collective deep breath to refocus? Yeah, for a team that was trying to tell us that we were doing that last week, they also did. That Kalant was sensational last year. I mean, my friend, do you think that Khaleesi leads by his action or words? Well, today he led by action. I thought Khaleesi was probably the only forward today that actually pitched up in the open play. I thought the front row were fine at scrum time, but after that, I think the only person that actually tried to do anything in open play was Khaleesi. The only way we can win the Rugby Championship is if we win both games against All Blacks with bonus point. They don't score a loser's bonus point. Look, I think I think we're pretty much done with the Rugby Championship. It's now about pride, isn't it? It's about making sure that we go out and we respond. New Zealand beat teams that beat the best teams in the world. Why can't we? Specman 23 maybe. Coach responsible. Chilling. Chris White. I don't know what you're on about. Fair Sports. Sack tech coaches, poor game plan, but walking down mean box stumbled around the pitch. Shouldn't we be sending our locks over if we have two leaving the squad? We will win our game against the All Blacks. Big call. Thoughts out of form, agreed. Play Fassi as wing. Fassi can't tackle, so no full back to him. Dennis, we are All Blacks won championship. Start Fassi at 11 next week. Yeah, I wouldn't mind see if we're going to see Fassi, and I wouldn't mind it. Then do it 11. Play, as I said, Mapimpi's out of form. So if we're gonna do it, then go put him at 11. 2019 Rugby Championship, Kalant was brilliant fullback, a very solid choice. Yeah, we need to get back into the squad. I mean, where's Morne Stay? I also wouldn't play Morne Stay. I'm sorry. Against New Zealand, look at the pace of them, and you're gonna put Morne Stay in there. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't. I think that to ask him to play 60, 70 minutes, and to be honest, I don't think we'll be close enough for him to be kicking that final penalty to us the game at the end of the match next week. So I don't think he's the solution. Louis was forward, fullback, missing crucial tackles. Chris White, not my first was MBS broadcast skills. I appreciate that. Cheers. Johnny Dupre's last played versus New Zealand in 2017 did score a try, maybe him at 23. In the 23, why do you speak very little of Billy needing to be dropped, sir? I haven't. I've said he needs to be dropped. The problem is that we haven't had anybody play fullback. So it would be Colby's first ever game at fullback for the Springboks if you dropped him. It would be Apele Fassi's third international game ever, and first at fullback against New Zealand. So I think that's the issue, and I wouldn't mind seeing Colby at fullback. Billy LaRue was horrible today. We all know this. We all know he had a bad game. But the issue comes with replacements and who replacement is him. And I don't think Colby can do much of a worse job. But I do think that if you put Fassi out there and he struggles like Felina struggled, it's very different to a 23-year-old trying to find his way, getting absolutely hammered by the All Blacks and having a terrible game compared to somebody who's been around the block a bit. And I said, if Warwick Kalant was available, I would have been playing him for the last 3-4 games. What's score prediction on Box versus Kiwis 100th game? Look, the fact it's a 100th game means I think that we will respond. I think we have to respond at the end of the day. So I think we will see a bit of an improved performance. Whether we can actually win, I don't know. But if we do win, then what happens? Then where are we at? Is Jacques Nienaber still a terrible coach? Do we still not back the coaching staff? I don't think it'll happen, but it would be very interesting. Does Alton pair better with Reinach or Herschel and New back combo? The ironic thing is technically you would think that Alton and Faf would be a really good combo for all those years they played together at the Lions. But if you're dropping Pollard, you're dropping Faf. I mean, and I'd probably go Reinach and Herschel. I don't know, but also I think Herschel and Young. I think the two Yankees would be a nice combination if you can get that crisp service. But I would play Reinach. They seem to do that, so I'll be interested to see what they go. Defense was dismal. Mornay staying at 15. Oh goodness me, no, don't give me heart palpitations. I kind of got the feeling the block camp is unsettled somehow. Score prediction. Yeah, I don't think they're a happy camp, to be honest. I don't think they're a happy camp. For whatever reason, if it's lockdown fatigue, if it's off the ball issues, I think there are issues a little bit off the pitch. There might not be, there might be. It does sort of come across as if there is. They've sort of vehemently denied it. They said that they're training well. But just something's not clicking at the moment. But we'll find what it is. Look, I mean, having said that, it was such a good high after the Lions series that it's difficult to now say there's issues there. What would happen if we played the All Blacks in the World Cup final? I don't know. The World Cup, they would have had to have gotten there for that to happen. We will never know, unfortunately. If you make changes for All Blacks, you better make sure you can tackle, because the All Blacks are going to send their wings wide with lots of ball. Score predictions: New Zealand 35, SA 6. Kevin says bring the 2 stains back. Hindo says New Zealand's going to destroy the Bokke. Chris White Africa says TRC is over for RSA. The Walking Dead embarrassed themselves once more. Difficult to call out one good player. I mean, look, embarrassed themselves again is a bit of a stretch. I wouldn't say last week was an embarrassment. I think today was an embarrassment. When they stay as the worst defender than Alton, just fly Kosin over to New Zealand. He'll go in the end of the tour, but I also don't think he'll start a fly up. I think he'll be our Usuti back. We peaked in the final. I think we would have taken the All Blacks. We'll see quality from the box on Saturday. I hope so. Pollard to miss 12 points in polls next week. Oh, don't put that out there. Shane Box tired now, just regroup. Every time I see Fassi running the wing, he leaps like a Springbok, and the Spider Pizza song comes to mind. Play more stadiums reserve. Fly off. F and TSG says my team next weekend will be in. I'll put it up there and you guys can read it if you want. We also need somebody playing to the ball, Hooper, and go dominate us at the breakdown. Need a breakdown specialist. Marco is there. Marcel could see as my preferred choice. I think that's probably personally, I think we're going to see Kwaka Smith. In fact, that's what I reckon we'll see. I reckon we'll see Kwaka Smith next week. Whether he'll be at 8 or 7 will be interesting, but I think he will start next week. So I think that we realized we needed a breakdown specialist. And I still like Malcolm Marx off the bench. I know people are saying he needs to be playing 60, 70 minutes. I think Malcolm Marx for 45 minutes after half time is when we see the best of him. Bongi Manumbi is having a bit of a dodgy time. His set pieces is fine. So if you are going to start Joseph Dwever, even if you start Joseph Dwever and you play him for 35 minutes and then put on Malcolm Marx, I do just think that finishing the game with your best hooker on the field, somebody who can make such a big difference, is a big plus. His line of work, however, was horrible today. Honey, South Africa's never a team you can't watch and think it'll win. So sad. With New Zealand always win, you will not win. Some different people in the comments. How can you fly? Dude has no idea about the structures in the box. Fair Sports Morning should have played against the Wallabies, not All Blacks. You can't keep the pace against All Blacks. I think people know in the chat that know that I wouldn't really back starting Morning. I just don't see the point. I think we're going to see a smash if we play the same team, 57-0. I hope not another one. Let Alton control the game on Saturday. And of course, he was brilliant in the air. I agree. Williams would get a shot at 15. His defensive line was great in the first game against Oz, but not at 10. Yellow card players should miss the next game. Renock at 9. Mostert impact player rather. I think the chat's backing the Alton and Renock shout. Don't just give up on us. Remember in 2018 when we lost to Argentina and Australia, and then out of nowhere we've beaten the All Blacks after the Aussies lose. Exactly. Tristan C says usually the box. I'm just going to pick out some comments because I just can't read them all. Usually the box look bigger than the opposition. The current team looks tiny. Look, I mean, I wouldn't say we were that small. Obviously, there's no Peace Def Toy and Arceus Neyman, which does provide a bit of bulk. But if you think Trevor Nikani is small, I think you must go stand next to him. What do you think about fast aimless giveaway of possession? It was 50-50, wasn't it today? Some of those kicks were pretty competitive. Stevie said New Zealand have been playing the running game for 3 years now. That's why Australia Rugby has selected New Zealand coaches in their Super Rugby teams. Do you think we will keep the same team for All Blacks or Jacques go with continuity? I hope not. I think we have to make some changes, don't we? I don't think we can have a performance like today and not make changes. Can Rusty work remotely and coach via Zoom calls or even buy him Red Bull? He is. And that's the funny thing. So for all that everyone's saying that Rusty's not involved, Jacques Nienaber literally said that he is on Zoom sessions. He is on the calls. He is part of the selection committee. He is giving feedback. He is still part of the setup. He might not be there, but just like the Argentina game, which we won with a bonus point, by the way, he is involved. He is giving feedback. I don't know if he's doing it during the game. In many ways, I don't see why he couldn't be, but he is involved. They are on Zoom calls. They are talking to him at the moment. But if anybody hasn't noticed, he is kind of being charged by World Rugby. So it's also, he's got a lot on his plate at the moment. Box have some time for the World Cups. No, it's not all doom and gloom. We know the fear factor like the 2007 group. Well, to be fair, the 2007 group had the fear factor in 2008 and 9 when Peter de Villiers was in charge, and we all hate Peter de Villiers apparently. So, it's difficult. It's difficult. And I'll come from the back. So, do you think Johan Ackerman must come back from the UK? Or he's actually in Japan at the moment. I'd just love to see him come back to the Lions and then prep him for the Bok job. Springboks says not enough for telling players burn themselves out and also to get complacent like Paul not being at his best. Does this Bok team have an attack coach that doesn't feel like it's today? Rise Rusty not in Australia because he's busy. prepping a case against World Rugby. He's got quite a lot on his plate. So yeah, it's a tough time. Tough times. I thought we were going to bounce back. I thought we all thought they were going to bounce back, and we didn't. And we do need to take it on the chin. But I do think that when do we ever see the Springboks miss that many tackles? And I'll keep saying it because it's not normal. It's not a normal performance. So we know where we have to fix it, to be honest. We know exactly where we have to fix it. The question is, do you want to see us throwing the ball around after what we saw today? If we can't do it, don't do it. You know, don't you? I mean, you sort of get the sort of the feeling when we try to watch us try and throw the ball around, not very effectively, that you kind of get into the sort of judging a fish by its ability to climb a tree. If we can't do it, maybe we shouldn't do it. I think we can do it, but I also think you just don't just do it overnight. So, and look, trying to play a nice, expansive game against the All Blacks is not the time to experiment. This is the best counter-attacking side in the world. So we don't need to be losing the ball out in wide areas or, kicking deep or making breaks and turning over ball and stuff like that in compromising areas. They will murder us if we do that. So it's difficult. And again, we talk about need to have a plan B, a plan C. How many teams have we actually seen employ a plan B? When we were beating Argentina, did we see a plan B? When we were beating the Lions, did we see a plan B? What's New Zealand's plan B? I think everyone has a sort of plan B-ish, but I don't think I think we'd be naive if we think that New Zealand walk out, struggle for the first 20 minutes, and suddenly go, right, well, forget what we're doing there. We're going to try this now, and it suddenly works. You got to stick to your game plan because there's no point prepping it. And sometimes it won't work. Sometimes it won't come off. And sometimes it comes down to execution. I think last week was a case of not executing our plans. I think today we also didn't execute our plans. Nino Boss is better than Mark Boucher at least. Yeah, fair. Now, I back that shout, to be fair. Akram has come back to SA and Springbok head coach. Is the rush defense being exposed? Well, the rush defense works if you make your tackles. When you don't miss your tackles, then you are exposed. At the end of the day, when you miss 21 tackles, I mean, it's for example, it's that first try. It's first time tackling, and if you do miss your first time tackles, how can you hope to you put your defense together? We don't play any of our youngsters like Grant and Krobler. No, you're talking about. You're talking about Williams. Look, I wouldn't play Grant Williams now. You got to play Herschel first. You got to play Cobus Randolph first. Chris Lombard, this guy's clueless. Cheers, mate. We'll come check your stream out after this. Lievin is bring Pierre de Villiers back. Do we actually have a plan B? I think the World Cup can do this. When we are riding the crest of a wave, then it's hard for reality. SCA World Champions for a reason. They will come good. You should play expansive footy against the Aussies and Argentina and more conservative against the All Blacks. Just the coach team will win every game. If you must choose between good players and a good game plan, oh, it's a difficult one, isn't it? At the end of the day, I suppose in theory you should be suiting a game plan to a certain degree to what you have with you. But when it comes to national setup, you can have got a lot of different options. I mean, you look at our flower hole options, we've got so many different options within there. Alternate 10 part of 15. I don't think we'd see part of 15. Can we control the pace of the game against the All Blacks? It's a tough one, but we can try. Mental attitude and tackles. Please keep this smart team, Jacques. The same team, I think, is what F and TSG is calling for. How come the team isn't in shape physically? You remember that photo before the World Cup? The teams look nowhere else to that physically. Why can't we play Herschel over Cobus? I don't know why. We just never seem to do it. I mean, I wouldn't mind. I don't think Herschel's playing the rugby he's been playing before, but he deserves a shot. Bulls would have been better at boxing, even beating Australia. I mean, maybe, but did you realize that our rush defense leaves huge overlaps open for the opposition? No, it does when it doesn't work. There are always overlaps, but to be fair, it's the same as when it's fine margins, isn't it? When Kellaway came off his line, made the tackle against Lakanya, there was a penalty, but he doesn't make that tackle. If he misses that tackle, we're scoring a try every single day in the week. And the rush defense is exactly the same. When you make your tackles, it works. You start slipping tackles, falls apart very, very quickly. New Zealand plays a balanced game. They're pretty good in all areas. They do basics very well. We're not doing that at the moment. Feels like we have lost belief. I hope the game in Cardiff is going to be electric. Box got to run off their feet. Even subs look tired in the last 10 minutes. Everyone except Kwagga, you look pretty on it today. If we squeeze a win against the All Blacks, all will be forgiven. We are so fickle. We really are. Delenda and Lukanya just aren't cutting in the midfield. I mean, I'm sorry, you're going to drop these two after the Lions series they had. It's just, they weren't phenomenal today, but I just think, and play who? JC Creel, because JC Creel has looked so flippin' phenomenal when he's played so far this year. Or play France Steyn, because he looks so flippin' phenomenal when he's played so far this year. I'm sorry, Creel and France Steyn have both had opportunities to play and not made any sort of attempt to try and get into starting lineup. So why would we drop Delende and Lukanya for them? Kobus Reinach, when he's played, has to put in decent performances. Alton Yankees played once, and he put in a very good performance. We haven't seen anybody else at fullback. We saw Dan Vince at fullback. He didn't play particularly well. Maybe that's why they're not going with him. But you can't drop the two centres for the current outlook. So, if we want to look at other centres coming into the squad, that's a whole different conversation. But in terms of what we've got right now, those two centres have been very good for us. So you got to back them. People talking about Pollard at 12. Has Delende played worse than Pollard? Are we sacrificing Delende just to accommodate Pollard who's not playing well? Why are we doing that if he is not outplaying Delende? And I don't think he is outplaying Delende. I think if we look at the stats, Delende made all his tackles today. And he made carries. He made 4 tackles today, didn't miss a single one. Lukanya made 6 tackles today, didn't miss a single one. On attack, David Lindley made 30 meters with 9 carries. And Lukanya scored a try, made 11 meters across his 4 carries. One clean break from Lukanya. It's. I don't think the centers are really our issue, so I wouldn't drop Delende to accommodate an awful Pollard. The Springboks had 2 days in the office. I hope he bounced back. Jesse Creel at wing. That's how we lined up the last time we beat the All Blacks. Am I correct? You could be. That's a long time ago. The rest of our centers are fine. They're not the issue. Touch judge TMO was Australia. They couldn't help thinking that when Jasper got that red card, yellow card. But Jan Fins under his days. And I said if we want to bring more people, then we can. But in terms of the squad right now, I wouldn't be touching our centers. Springboks have lost so much opportunities. There's so much potential to beat Australia in these 2 games. Drop our centers. What are you smoking, chap? Delende's overrated, champ. Sure. Fine. Probably one of our best players in the World Cup final. But sure. Was having a stormy season at Munster, but fine. Whatever, I suppose. Whatever floats your boat. Jean-Luc at 7. Yes, it wouldn't be fair putting that kind of pressure on shoulders, but we have to rest Moss at some point, right? Well, that's why I reckon I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kwagga at 7. Or we could see Kwagga at 8 and Jean-Luc at 7. I wouldn't mind that. Faf and Villiers should be dropped. Yeah, I agree. Pollard is the problem. Villiers is the problem. Faf is the problem. Please, guys, get these goggles off your eyes. Play me, Jean-Luc at 7. Green centers aren't the issues. Who is Julius? Could be an awful Pollard. You're joking, right? You know what? I think we can all. Let's ask the chat. Is Pollard playing well at the moment? That's the question. Is he playing well at the moment? Are we seeing the World Cup winning Pollard? Are we seeing the Pollard that we know can play rugby at the highest level? Are we seeing the world's best player at the moment? Simple yes or no answer. And this is not to say I'm not questioning his pedigree. I'm not questioning his talent. I'm not questioning his ability. I'm questioning his form right now. Is he playing well? The chat has spoken. He's not playing well. He's not, and he does. It's all right if you're not playing well. You can have bad patches, but you've got to then be replaced. Beauden Barrett plays off the flipping bench for New Zealand. A 2-time World Rugby Player of the Year can't get into the 10 jersey because Richie Mo'unga is outplaying him. So no one, doesn't matter who you are, can be immune from being dropped. Nobody. And at the end of the day, you can make the argument, well, are the other 10s better? Well, we wouldn't know if you don't try. We don't know if you don't try. We've played Morne State in the SAA game once this year, and we played Alton Yankees against Argentina once this year, and against the Bulls. So Morne has had 7 minutes of international rugby this year, and Alton's had 65. And when he did, he got 6 out of 7 of kicks and a try assist. So if you're not going to back them, they don't have them there. It's like I think not putting on Dave Williamson today was poor. If you're not going to back him, you can't put him in the team. I don't understand why we didn't put David Williamson on today for Fillerou. It wasn't going well. Pollard coming off a long injury layoff, Dink money. Yeah, he is, and it's fine. He can take a while, but then you've got to then say, right, come off the bench or whatever. You can't continue backing him. But the chat has spoken, and we are in agreement that he's not playing very well, which is fine. You can't drop a 10 out of 10 every time, but if you're not playing well, make a change, take the pressure, do something. We can't just keep playing him in the hope that he will one day sort of click once again. All right, cool. We drop off the team. You know what? Let's go through who's out of today in the last 2 weeks who have played badly on both games. Trevor Nyakani didn't play last weekend. No. Franz Malherbe was all right last weekend. You're not dropping him. Eben Etzebeth was decent last weekend, not his best, but you're not dropping him. Marvin Ori comes for thing. So you're not dropping half the team. Pollard has not looked the same since that injury, which is about right. It was a flipping ACL. It didn't flipping break a toe, but if he's not going to be, if he's struggling, then make the swap, bring him on the bench, let him go back to Montpellier and play some rugby and be fine for the end of your tour. You are allowed to go through bad patches. What you're not allowed to do, and it comes down to the coaching staff, is back a player who's not informed purely on reputation, because that's a very slippery slope, and that's what the All Blacks do so well. They very rarely will back a player on reputation. Mateus Pollard's talented, currently is not playing well. He needs to rework on small things and then come back. Seeing Vermeulen getting outrun by Tenia. Tupou to set up the try was playing sad. Yeah, but Tupou's gas, boys. Hurston not there, so we can talk about Hurston and stuff like that. But he's not there, and let's not speculate about something that can't happen. It's like saying, well, Evan Roos would be fantastic at 8th man. He's not there. John Q says, I reckon the Springboks have a good chance against the All Blacks next week. We need a fly who's going to attack. Kobus and Alton, some good chemistry together. Hopefully, just imagine we had a Pure Dianti. Oh, dude, don't do that. I've had such a bad day, and now you keep having to remind me that I'm missing out on more Pure Dianti rugby. He's exactly the type of person we need, by the way. He walks into the side at the moment. Alton can play the attack style game better. Part of the thing more about his girlfriend than the team. They barely beat his French second team. Who are we talking about? The Don. I don't know, so I missed that comment. Dino Boy was never a head coach of a club side, let alone international. It's his debut at head coach. Yeah, but you know what? People were calling for Jan Ackerman to be the head coach after about 3 years at the Lions, and that was pretty much the only experience he's had. For all that he has not had a head position, let's not act as if Jacques Nienaber is new to rugby. He has been in coaching setups since about 2003, I think. He's been coaching with Rassie since before 2010. He has done a lot of coaching, a lot of working. So, what would you back? Would you back Jacques Nienaber, or would you go right now and say, well, let's go take John Dobson because he's got head coach experience, or let's get Sean Everett, he's got head coach experience. Flipping Van van Rooyen's got head coach experience. Would you go with them? I wouldn't. I had no. Let's be honest. Did we really have that much issue with Nienaber being appointed head coach before? So you can't question the credentials now. You can say maybe he's not doing a good job, but don't come here now and say that, he never had the credentials when we didn't complain about it earlier. And I think it's harsh. I think it is harsh. Maybe he will struggle. We do have to, change. But we can't just judge a guy on his first 8 games in charge. You win next week, and that win rate and loss rate is going to do this at the moment. I mean, as to consider, let's do the South Africa coaches. Record. I think Rassie Russ was sitting at about 65% with his games. Where are we? Right, here we go. So in terms of win percentage, we had Nick. Let's start from Nick Marriott. We had 71%, Harry Vermeulen 53%, Ruud Australia 52%, Jake White 66%, and even Ruud Australia, by the way, 52%, and Harry Vermeulen at 53%. They had 50 and 23 games respectively. Jake White 66% after 54 games. Peter de Villiers 62% after 48 games. Heineken Meyer 66% after 48 games. Alistair Coetzee 44% after 25 games. Rassie Erasmus 65% after 26 games. Jacques Nienaber currently 71% after 7, so it'll go down to being in the 60s after 8. You're not sacking a guy based on that. He deserves the chance to prove himself. And he's already got a Lion series in the bags, by the way, which is something that Peter Villiers has. But I mean, you look at Heineken Meyer's list of what he won, and it's an England series win, it's a rugby championship runner-up, a Wales series win, a Rugby Championship runner-up, and a World Cup third place. That's what Heineken Meyer has in his trophy cabinet. Look, Grant, he didn't play the British and Irish Lions, but Jacques Nienaber's got a British and Irish Lions series win in his cabinet. And for all you could say, oh, it's not him or whatever, that's the setup. That's how it works. And it did work for the Lions series and for a lot of the games so far. So let's not suddenly throw the baby out with the bathwater after a very short amount of time. In theory, we should have had the entire last season as well. And teams lose. Guys, at the end of the day, teams lose. It happens. And it will happen again. So we need to get used to it, I suppose. And not that we have to say that we have to accept everyone, but you can't just, I mean, as I said, we were fine after the Argentina games. Life was all good. We lose 2 things and now we have to fire people. So would you have fired Rusty after that Australia and Argentina games when we lost those? Before we beat the All Blacks? Would we have fired? We were talking about firing him then. No, we weren't. So it's I think it's so far too early to be talking about the credentials of a coach after 7 games, 8 games. At least given the end of year tour. I mean, really. But yeah, look, I think we can pretty much wrap it up there. We've been going for well over an hour, which wasn't well. I was about to plan to go for about an hour. Why as Springbok supporters do we have to accept a team playing like that? Well, if you're going to accept a team playing like that and beating the Lions, you have to accept the losses. It comes with the territory. I'm not happy about this morning. Don't get me wrong. I'm not happy about this morning, but I'm not going to flip and lose my mind and be depressed for the rest of the week and just say that we're shit and miserable and I hate this country, I hate this team, they don't deserve my support, yada, 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 yada. And then if we win a game, be like, oh, always back them, chaps, always back them. They always have my support. They're fantastic. It's great. Today was a reckoning. It was a genuine reckoning. I think today was a big moment, probably the most challenging moment since that loss in Argentina. And it's about how we respond. And we thought we were going to respond last week, and we didn't. So backs against the wall, we now see the real colors. We now see if the coaching staff will make changes. We now see if these players really can come back and do something. They have to. They've got the caliber. But let's judge at the end of the Rugby Championship. If we don't bounce back and we put in 2 horrible performances against New Zealand, we get to come back here and we get to reassess and say, all right, chaps, where did it go wrong? What needs to happen? Do coaching staff need to change? Do we need to to look at new players? I mean, what do we get wrong? Are we out of our depth here? And we need to sit down and talk about it. But let's wait until we've had those games before we do it. Because if the impossible does happen and we come out next week and beat the All Blacks, then what do we say? What do we say? Because right now we're speculating, we're assuming we're going to lose, which is probably the more likely at the moment. But if we don't lose, then what? Do I come back to the stream and read out the comments and come back and say, oh, you said this, you said that, you said this? As far as I'm concerned, I've actually come to terms with it today, to be honest. I went out, I had a beer, and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to get upset about it. I can't let this make me depressed when I've got Lions Rugby making depressed. I've got Proteas who I know is going to hurt me soon. And I think at the moment it's a reflection of where we are in the world. It's just with COVID and the negativity and stuff like that, all kind of sort of spills over. So the reason I'm doing this live show is because the next time I'll be live was on Wednesday. So I'm not taking a break. I'm flipping working night shifts for the rest of the week. So I can't do any streams until Wednesday. Literally working night shift tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday. So we'll be back on Wednesday, and we're going to and by then the team will be announced. So we're going to have a very nice debate on Wednesday about what is cooking and what has actually happened. Until then, I advise you all to go out, do what you love, take a deep breath, put this behind us. Monday, we're going to gear ourselves up and we're going to try and get ready for next week. And whatever happens next weekend happens, but we can't spend the entire week assuming we're going to lose and beating ourselves up for it. So let's draw a line under today. Let's leave all the negativity and the crap over here, and let's try and be a little bit. I'm not saying you have to be optimistic we're going to win next week. But let's try and be open-minded, shall we? And just understand that we have not played well today. The only way we can do is respond well. The team announcement should be on Wednesday. They've been announcing it throughout the entire season, so it should be announced on Wednesday. We do have an end of year tour. We're playing Wales, England, and I think Ireland, maybe Scotland. I don't know. But yes, so Wednesday, let's reconvene and let's talk about it on Wednesday. And I'll hopefully have a panel show on Thursday. I'm going to try and get Lakanya to try and host a panel show and chat us through everything like that to give us a bit of a preview. But until then, please do smash a like on the video. As Hansi says, go and check out the Blitzbokker. They're currently playing. It's a very new squad. Very exciting times to be watching Blitzbokker with new players, very exciting players. So go and check them out at 11. And we'll reconvene on Wednesday. Please do smash like, by the way. And on the more positive note, you guys got me past 7,000 subscribers, so we can celebrate something. If we're searching for something to celebrate that. You guys helped me get to 7,000 subscribers, and I really do appreciate it. So smash like on the way out, subscribe. Check you guys on Wednesday. Hopefully we'll have a cool team to talk about. In the meantime, we've got Andre Parler's press conference just come out. You might not enjoy it, but it's out there. We'll hopefully have Dave Rennie's conference out tomorrow with Michael Hooper. We'll try and get Ledesma and Ian Foster's one out tomorrow. We will also be getting out a lot of URC stuff. That's the nice thing about next weekend. Even if the Boks lose on the morning, we've got URC action to try and look after us, which is really cool. We don't currently have a sponsor. Trying to try and sort something out. So if anyone wants to get involved, we are currently available. But yes, we'll see you guys next week Wednesday. Please do stay safe. And we'll chat to you then, I suppose.